بل هو آيات بينات في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, continue reading from where we had left off. The author he mentioned حفظه الله تعالى تقسيم الآحاد المقبولة إلى صحيح وحسن لذاته ولغيره. تقسيم الآحاد المقبولة إلى صحيح وحسن لذاته ولغيره. So now we discuss about the division of the accepted ahad reports into Sahih and Hasan لذاته ولغيره, يعني in and of itself, and also because of other reports supporting it, or because of supporting narrations. So the author, he says, حفظه الله, اذكر أقسام أخبار الآحاد المقبولة. واذكر أقسام أخبار الآحاد المقبولة وما وجه الحصر في هذه الأقسام. Mention the categories of the accepted ahad reports. What is the rationale behind limiting them to these categories? So the author, he says in response, تنقسم أخبار الآحاد المقبولة إلى 4 أقسام. That the accepted ahad reports are divided into 4 categories. الصحيح لذاته, authentic in and of itself. الصحيح لغيره, authentic due to external support. الحسن لذاته, sound and good in itself. والحسن لغيره, sound and good due to external support. He says, ووجه الحصر في هذه الأربعة هو, and the rationale behind limiting these 4 categories is as follows. أن الخبر إما أن يشتمل من صفات القبول على أعلاها أو لا يشتمل. That a report, it either possesses the highest qualities of acceptability or it does not. Meaning that for a narration to be considered authentic and acceptable, it must meet certain requirements and conditions. Then these narrations that have met those requirements and conditions, some of them fulfill those requirements in a greater manner than others. So therefore, they're stronger in authenticity than others. You understand that? They all have gathered the general requirements and conditions to be considered accepted. Now, once they enter into the realm of being reports that are accepted, from them there are those that gather these conditions and requirements in the most complete and perfect manner. And others, they're lesser than that, although they haven't gathered those requirements and conditions. واضح? So looking at it from this aspect, this is why we have these 4 different categories. Because these accepted narrations, they're either going to gather these qualities and traits that are considered to be accepted in the most perfect and good manner, or they'll be lesser than that, although they have gathered those traits. فالأول الصحيح لذاته. The first one is called الصحيح لذاته. The one that is صحيح and it's authentic in and of itself. والثاني أن وجد ما يجبر به ذلك القصور ككثرة الطرق فهو الصحيح لغيره. The second one, if it does not possess those qualities, but something exists to compensate for the deficiency, such as numerous supporting chains, then it's considered صحيح لغيره. It's authentic due to external support. وحيث لا جبران فهو الحسن لذاته. And if there's no compensation for deficiency, yet the report still meets the minimum standard of acceptability, then it is حسن لذاته. It's حسن لذاته. وإن قامت قرينة ترجح جانب قبول ما يتوقف فيه فهو الحسن لغيره. And if the report is weak but supported by a contextual indicator, يعني contextual evidence or supportive evidence, then that tips the scale in favor of its acceptance, then it's considered حسن لغيره, any sound due to external support. So again, we have conditions for the narration to be considered accepted. There's conditions for it to be considered accepted. So if it's going to be considered صحيح لذاته, then it has reached the highest level of these qualities. It has gathered all of these conditions. So there's a number of conditions. We're going to discuss them inshallah briefly. But just to know now, the difference between the Sahih and the Hasan is with regards to the memory of the narrator. So if all of the requirements are met and then along with that, the narrator has precise memory and reliability in transmitting narrations, then his report is called Sahihun li Dhatihi. If all those requirements and conditions are fulfilled, but that narrator, along with the fact that he's reliable and his memory is of utmost strength and precision, but it's lesser than the narrator that we just discussed, then now his reports are considered Hasanun li dhatihi. Hasanun li dhatihi. So this is the origin here. You got the Sahih and the Hasan. So the Sahih and the Hasan, both of them have gathered all of the conditions that have been set in the chain, and likewise in the method for it to be accepted. For it to be accepted. The difference between the two is that the narrators of the Sahih, all of them are at the peak of precision in narration. They're at the peak of precision in narration. And those narrators of Al-Hadith Al-Hasan, likewise, all of those requirements are met, and the narrator as well is reliable, but their memorization has not reached that level. So their narrations are slightly under those who have a stronger memory and more precise in their precision. You understand? So the first one is called as-sahihu li dhatihi. It's authentic in and of itself. And the second one with slightly weaker memory with a narrator with slightly weaker memory is called hasan li dhatihi. It's sound and good in and of itself. So the sahihun li dhatihi, the sahih li dhatihi, this is clear. The hasan li dhatihi, this is clear. Right? So now if that hasan li dhatihi has come with numerous chains supporting it, it raises from being hasan li dhatihi to sahihun li ghayrihi, because he came down a little bit because of the memory, right? The possibility there because of a slight weakness in his memory. But whenever there are numerous other chains and narrations of that same text, now we're safe and we're certain that in this narration, that slight weakness in his memory had no effect, right? He was completely right by supporting evidences, clarifying that what he mentioned now is correct. So therefore, now that we're safe from that, what we were afraid of could possibly happen from a slight weakness in his memory brings the narration from being hasanun li dhatihi ila sahih li ghayrihi. Now it's authentic because of supporting evidence. واضح? This is the case here. Then we have the Hasan li dhatihi. This one is clear. Then we have narrations that do not reach these requirements. Narrations that do not reach these requirements. The requirements for the narration to be considered maqbool, for it to be considered accepted. If the narration does not reach those requirements, it's considered mardud, rejected, yani da'if. But with regards to al-dha'f, we have two types. With regards to weaknesses or deficiencies in the narrations, there's two types. ضعف يسير وضعف شديد. ضعف يسير وضعف شديد. ضعف يسير is a slight weakness, a minor weakness, a small weakness. And ضعف شديد is a major weakness. So if there's a major weakness in the chain, it's rejected absolutely and nothing can help it. It will never stand. It will never be accepted regardless of how many chains had come with it. For example, if there's a liar, a known liar in the chain, or somebody who's matruk and the likes like this in the chain, he's somebody who has been criticized yani, in a stern manner, then his narrations are going to be rejected absolutely. That one can never raise. The one that's ضعيف شديد الضعف. ضعيف شديد الضعف. This one that's weak with strong, stern weaknesses and with great weakness, this one cannot be raised. As for the ضعيف, يسير الضعف, the one that's weak, but it's only a light weakness. It's weak. It doesn't meet the requirements for it to be accepted, but it's only a light weakness. For example, the narrator is known as being Sayyid al-Hifz. He has a bad memory. He may narrate 50 narrations, he gets 25 right and 25 wrong, right? Along with the fact that he's honest and he's trustworthy and reliable in his religion. But his memory is not that good. He mixes it up and he'll get 25 right and 25 wrong. like this, and just to sound, just so we can view it. So now when he narrates, we don't know if it's the ones that's right or wrong. So then his narrations are rejected. But in cases whenever that narration comes with other supporting evidences by numerous different chains, now these other supporting evidences clarify that this particular narration here that we're discussing, he got it right. And the proof for that are these other narrations that have come supporting that, supporting that. Do you understand? As for if he got it wrong, and then we look at the other narrations, and they're all contrary, and there's nothing supporting him, and this is the only narration like that, then it's weak, and we don't accept it. But if this one who has the weak memory, he narrates this narration, and others with similar weaknesses, but not lower, and the likes like this narrate the same thing, then now together they become strong, and they raise from the level of being weak to being hasan لغيره. So that slight weakness is mended by coming from different chains and different paths, different narrators, supporting evidence. You understand? So this is the issue here. And this is why it's divided into four categories. Also, if there's a slight weakness in the chain, for example, like it's mursal, or it's mu'allaq, or it's mudallis, like this, these terms they will come later. These are all types of weaknesses in the narration because of a missing link in the chain. Mu'dal, munqati', and the likes like this. These are all terms of narrations that have missing links in the chain. But if there are other narrations supporting that narration, it will be accepted because these weaknesses are light. If it comes in another way, it could raise. It could raise in certain circumstances and situations. So the way that we're mentioning it now, barakallah fikum, may seem in your mind like it's an absolute sense like this. Like every weak one raises up to this one, and every Hassan that he raises. It's not absolute like that. This is just now we're taking the general basics so we can visualize these principles. But each narration, the scholars would deal with it individually. They'll deal with it individually because there are certain things that may come, the circumstances may arise that this particular principle will not be applied absolutely because there are other circumstances requiring for other issues to be discussed. There's many details there. But just so that we can picture this issue like this is the general idea. This is the general idea. You have the one that's authentic in and of itself, and you have the one that's sounding good in and of itself. And the difference between the two is a slight difference from the strength of the memory of the narrators. One is Sahih, one is Hasan. And then after that, you have the Hasan. If it has a number of chains, it raises to being Sahih also. And then the Hasan lidatihi, if a person didn't meet those if the narration didn't meet those minimum requirements, it will fall to being mardud, to being da'if. But the da'if is two types, light and major. Light, a light weakness and a strong weakness. The strong weakness is rejected absolutely. The light weakness can be mended. If that's mended by other narrations, then it will raise from being weak and not accepted to being accepted. Hasan لغيره. واضح? This is the chapter here that we're discussing. So now he moves on. حفظه الله. He says, الصحيح لذاته. الصحيح لذاته. Authentic in and of itself. عرف الصحيح لذاته واشرح التعريف. عرف الصحيح لذاته واشرح التعريف. Define الصحيح لذاته and explain the definition. The response, the answer, the Shaykh, he says, حفظه الله. الصحيح لذاته هو ما روي بالنقل عدل تام الضبط متصل السند غير معلل ولا شاذ. There's a number of points here. We're going to count them. الصحيح لذاته. We all know what this is now, right? Anybody who doesn't know what this means now, they need to step up and say something. Raise your hand. الصحيح لذاته. Right? We know what that means. Right? It's authentic in and of itself. It's a narration that has collected all of the requirements and conditions to be accepted. And the narrators at the peak of precision. All of them. All of them. The narrators at all of them in the chain are at the peak of precision. Okay, so therefore it's sahihun lidatihi. So this sahih lidatihi, before it's classified in this manner, it has those conditions that we were discussing. Now he's mentioning them. So this comes in the definition. We can derive the conditions from the definition, inshallah. ما روي بنقل عدل تام الضبط متصل السند غير معلل ولا شاذ. That which has been narrated by the transmission of adil. That which is narrated by the transmission of the one who's adil. It's completely upright. So therefore the first condition is al-adala. Al-adala. This is with regards to his deen. He must be reliable. He must be trustworthy. He must be upon the religion. He must be upon the deen. He must be known for taqwa and piety. He must be known for outwardly establishing the obligations of Islam and avoiding and staying away from the prohibitions and working against his soul upon the path of Allah. That's what's known from him, apparently. That's what's known from him, apparently. So he's considered adil. He has al-adala. He has al-adala. He's reliable. He's trustworthy, right? He's not an innovator. He's not a liar. He's not a cheater. He's not an open sinner. We don't know him listening to music or selling alcohol or selling cigarettes and the likes. He doesn't do that type of stuff, right? He's adil. He has adala. What does it mean to have adala? Meaning what is seen apparently from him is that he's a person of piety. He's a person of taqwa. He's a person who establishes the obligations and avoids the prohibitions. And he's known for noble conduct and good manners. This one is called al-adl. And this trait that he has is al-adala. That's the first condition. For what? Al-hadith al-sahih. لذاته. Now, so then he says, بنقل عدل تام الضبط. تام الضبط. Complete precision. Perfect memory. Precisely accurate narrator. So first, the narrator has to be upright, reliable. And along with that, his memory must be at the peak of precision. Tam al-dhabt. The peak of precision. Tam al-dhabt. And if he narrates 100 narrations, he might slip on one or two. You might catch him on one or two. If he narrates 100 narration, he might mess up slightly here and there on one or two, for example, or three. Almost never. If that. Tam al-dhabt. You understand? This is the second condition. So the first condition is al-adala. The second condition is al-dhabtu al-tam. This is with regards to the narrator. ثم متصل السند. متصل السند. The chain, it must be connected. The chain, it must be connected. The chain, it must be connected. The Shaykh is going to explain these things. غير معلل. This is with regards to the chain, right? The chain must be connected. The narrator, he must be reliable and have the peak of precision with regards to narrating and memory. And then the chain, it must be connected. غير معلل, and there must not be any hidden defects in the narration. Not in the chain or in the text. ولا شاذ. And it should not be also having any defects where it's in contradiction with other narrations. So this is in general the definition, and these are those conditions. So the first condition is al-adala. Al-adala means reliability. Reliability. Tamam al-dhabt. Precision in memory. That's two. Ittisal al-sanad. The chain is connected. That's three. Intifa al-illa al-qadiha. There must not be any defect, hidden defects that would weaken the narration. Wala shudud. Wantifa shudud. And likewise, the shudud that must be lifted, meaning there must not be any contradiction in this narration from other narrations. It must not conflict, and be in opposition or contradiction to other narrations that were narrated in the same light. So he says, شرح التعريف. Explanation of the definition. العدل هو المتصف بالعدالة وهو المتمسك بأحكام الشرع وآدابه فعلا وتركا. العدل, uprightness, and the person who is upright. The narrator must possess upright character. He must have al-adala. He must possess upright character, which means he adheres to the rulings and manners of Islamic law. He has Islamic jurisprudence, both in what he does and what he avoids. This is summary. This is a summary of that. We understand? And he's somebody who apparently fears Allah by establishing the commandments and avoiding and staying away from the prohibitions. And this is what is known for him. And also he has good and noble conduct. والمراد بالضبط شيئان ضبط الصدر وضبط الكتاب. And what is meant by precision by precision in narrating or memorization is two things. It's two things. Whenever we talk about here the condition of al-dabt is precision and narrating. Originally, it's with regards to the memory, but it comes in two aspects here in narration. ضبط الصدر وضبط السطر. السطر يعني الكتاب. ضبط الصدر is precision in the chest, in the breast, referring to the heart. Precision in memory. He himself, he memorizes precisely. He can hear something, memorize it, and repeat it whenever he wants to, just the same way he memorized it. This is a quality that he has. This is a talent that he's blessed with. He will hear something and memorize it the way that he heard it and transmit it the way that he heard it the first time he memorized it, and it's easy for him. And it's easy for him. You understand this? This is called ضبط الصدر. This is called ضبط الصدر. يعني الحفظ القوي. الحفظ القوي, strong memory. Strong, الذاكرة القوية. الذاكرة القوية. Strong memory. And then the other aspect of precision in narration is ضبط السطر. السطر يعني the lines, which is in reference to al-kitab, ضبط الكتاب. So some of the narrators, they will memorize, and others they will write. And others they will memorize and write. And write. So from the accepted means of narrating is from memory, and likewise from that which is written. Likewise from that which is written. You understand? So some of them they will memorize it by heart and narrate from what they memorized. Others they would write what they learned and memorized and then narrate from their book that they wrote. Narrate from the manuscript that they wrote. So both of these will be accepted with conditions. واضح? So this is what we're talking about now. The narrator here, صحيح لذاته, what kind of ضبط is it? تمام الضبط. تمام الضبط. Complete. Yani perfect precision. Yani to the best of his high quality of precision. That's either going to be by his memorization or by the way that he writes and checks and preserves his book that he narrates from. So he says, فضبط الصدر هو أن يثبت ما سمعه بحيث يتمكن من استحضاره متى شاء. So ضبط الصدر, the memorization, the narrator reliably retains what he heard, able to recall it accurately whenever needed. Whenever needed. Understand? This is what it means. ضبط الكتاب أو ضبط الستر هو صيانة الكتاب لديه من وقت قراءته له وتصحيحه إلى وقت تأديته. The precision in writing, ضبط الكتاب, he preserved means he preserves his written records accurately from the time he reviewed and corrected them until he transmits them. And from the time he heard them and he wrote them in his book, he checks them and verifies them and makes sure they are as he had written them. And then he also preserves and keeps that book safe until it's time to narrate from it. He's not known for loaning his book out like it's nothing, giving it to people here and there like this. Or he's not known for having things blotched out in his book without clarification why and the likes like this. He would be accused for these affairs. He's known for properly following the rules of writing and also properly following the rules of checking and comparing the text that he wrote to the text that was dictated and the narrations that he heard according to the asl of the author, or he read it himself to the original narrator, to the sheikh, and the likes like this, or he checked it with the asl, the original manuscript of the sheikh, so on and so forth. There's many different ways to verify that and to check it, and he's known for doing that, verifying that which is written in his book is reliable and correct according to that which was narrated, and then he will keep that book safe, and he will protect it and keep it from falling into the hands of someone who may play with it or add to it or take away from it and the likes like this until it's time to narrate from it. So if he's reliable in this likewise, then he's considered having tamam al-dhabt, right? He has precision, right? So some of them, they're precise in both aspects. They'll memorize and also write for backup. Like they will memorize, but then they will write. And others, they will only memorize. Some of the Salaf, they will say, ما كتبت شيئا في حياتي. I never wrote anything in my life, like a Zuhd. I said, I never asked my teacher to ever repeat anything. And they asked him to repeat it. He said, man, I never. Asking me to repeat this again is like asking me to move a mountain. I just told you. They're very strong and precise in this affair. But others, they were not of that level. So they would write. And then if they narrate from that which was written, then their narrations are accepted. But if they start narrating from their memory, then now there will be an issue, and many of the narrations may be rejected. So they'll say he's a upright narrator when he narrates from his book, but whenever he narrates from his memory, he's weak. And some narrators may be mentioned like this, just so we kind of understand the picture. So the Sheikh he says, "مراد به متصل السند ما سلم إسناده من انقطاع مطلقا بحيث يكون كل من رجاله سمع ذلك المروي عن شيخه." And what is meant by متصل al-isnad, the connected chain, is that the isnad, the chain of transmission, must be free of any breakage. There must not be any drops in the chain. Each narrator in the chain must have directly heard the narration from his teacher. Must have directly heard the narration from his teacher. And this is the general definition, so we can picture it. In the tabaqat of the chain, you have the starting at the bottom right. You have the one who authored the book, like Bukhari. So he's a student narrating on his sheikh, who's narrating on his sheikh, who's narrating on his sheikh, who's narrating on a sahabi, who's narrating on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You understand? So this is the student narrates on the sheikh, and the student, and he's actually a student likewise narrating on his sheikh, and he's actually a student likewise narrating on his sheikh. Right? So that's the chain. That's the chain. Huh? That's the chain. You understand? So that chain must be connected. He's saying here that means that each one must have heard from the one before him. Must have heard that narration directly from the one before him. This is a definition suitable for what we're discussing, because in reality, there are other ways that you can hear that you can get the narration other than hearing. So the any for any, but this is sufficient so that we visualize, right? That each one he heard from the one before him, or he took the narration in the proper manner from the one before him all the way to the end of the chain. يعني سو الإسناد اتصال الإسناد تحمل كل راو عمن فوقه بإحدى طرق التحمل الصحيحة. This is the definition. Every narrator, he is transmitting the narration from the one before him in a manner that's considered accepted. In the manner that's considered accepted. From the highest level of accepting narration is hearing it directly. But maybe sometimes he didn't hear it. Maybe he read it, right? He read it to the teacher, and the teacher said, yes. He read the narrations to his teacher, and these are the narrations of his teacher, and he read them to him with the chain of his teacher, and his teacher affirmed him of his reading. So now this is considered as if he heard. واضح? This is clear. So there's other ways too to be for the chain to be connected, just so that we get an idea. But in general, the origin is that he heard it. In general, the origin is that he heard it. He heard it. يعني so they say تحمل كل راو عمن فوقه بإحدى طرق التحمل الصحيحة. نعم. So this is the case here. This is what it means for the chain to be connected. This is clear? الحمد لله. والمؤلل في اللغة ما فيه علة واصطلاحا ما فيه علة خفية قادحة. المعلل linguistically it means defective. It has a defect in it. Something that's معلل or معلول, it has a defect in it. It has a علة in it. علة means defect, means ضعف, weakness. So that which contains an علة, a defect, technically, that which contains a subtle, harmful defect that undermines the authenticity of the hadith. That undermines the authenticity of the hadith. So the issue of علل al-hadith, and this is from the most intricate and detailed of the science to learn about these affairs. Because the illah, as it's mentioned here, illatun khafiyatun qadiha. خفية قادحة والظاهر السلامة منها. الظاهر السلامة منها. So this defect here is a hidden defect, and it undermines the authenticity of the narration. But on first look, you will not be able to see it. If you look at the narration, initially it looks 100% authentic. You see the narrators, all of them are accepted. Maybe even from the peak of precision and narration and reliability. And then likewise the text, you see the text and you say, Alhamdulillah. But upon further scrutiny and looking into the different chains and the different wordings, the scholars will identify a mistake there that you can't see initially. You'll find it in the way that it's transmitted. When they say an he said حدثني or حدث like this. They'll find in these words that they use in the chain. Remember we talked about the chain. That's not only the narrators, but the way that they narrate it also. They can find defects in this manner like this, or there will be defects in the text as well. And the way to find these is to gather all of the other chains and all of the text of this one narration and to examine them all together. So a hadith that has a illah in it, this is has a hidden defect, a hidden defect. So before the narration is accepted, these hidden defects must not be present, must not be present. والشاذ لغة المنفرد وفي الاصطلاح ما يخالف فيه الثقة من هو أرجح منه ما يخالف فيه الثقة من هو أرجح منه. And then he says in the shadh, the irregular report, linguistically it means something isolated or singular. Then when they went away from the jama'ah, went away from the group, he's all alone by himself. Shadha. And technically is a hadith in which a trustworthy narrator contradicts someone more reliable than him. And here it says thiqa, a better term to use, يعني ما يخالف فيه المقبول من هو أولى منه بالقبول. The shadh, technically this is a hadith in which a trustworthy narrator contradicts someone more reliable than him. Contradict someone more reliable than him, whether they're individuals who are stronger in narrating and more reliable than him in this field, or whether it's a group of them, right? He's a reliable narrator, but he narrates this time something contrary to what someone who is more reliable narrated. Or he narrated something this time that's contrary to what a number of other reliable narrators narrated. Maybe they're not necessarily more reliable than him. Maybe they're on the same level as him in reliability and in precision. But there's 2, 3, or 4 of them narrated a wording contrary, or he added something that they didn't add, or the likes like this. So now this is from the means to identify that he went away from the correct wording or the correct mention of the chain, and he made a mistake. So basically, al-hadith al-shadh هو خطأ الثقة أو خطأ المقبول. خطأ الثقة. We say it like that just to make it easy. خطأ الثقة. خطأ الثقة. It's whenever a thiqah makes a mistake. That one person that only, if he narrates 100, he only misses 1 or 2 or 3. This is that 1, 2, or 3. It's called shadh. It's called shadh. So before the narration is accepted, the narration must be free of this. واضح? The narration must be free of this. So now when we look at it, we see that for the hadith to be considered sahih لذاته, it must gather these conditions. The first one is adalatul ruwat. All of the narrators, they must be reliable in their religion and their deen. You understand that? The second one is that they all must have tamam al-dhabt. They all must be at the peak of precision, either by memorization or by the way that they preserve and write and transmit from their books. This is number 2, right? These are with regards to the narrators. And also the chain as well, along with them all being of this precision in this manner, ittisal al-isnad, the chain that must be connected, meaning each one in the chain, he heard directly from the one before him. He learned and took that narration directly from the one before him, all the way to the end. And it's connected in this manner all the way to the end. You understand that? So this here is with regards to the chain. And this here is with regards to the chain. And then also, there must not be any. So these 3 affairs here, they must be present. These are shurut wujudiyya. These conditions, they must be present. They must mutawafira. They must be present. And then there's 2 conditions that must not be present. And that is intifa al-illah al-qadiha. There must not be any hidden defects. And the 5th one is intifa al-shudhuth. That contradiction or conflict with the other narrators or those who are more reliable also must not be there as well. If all of these conditions are gathered in one narration, is considered sahihun lidatihi. Sahihun lidatihi. So the shudud many times is with regards to the method. With regards to the method. Also maybe there's illah as well in the chain or the method. Something there. There could be nakara. There's something in the method that's just letting you know that there's a mistake. Letting you know that there's a mistake. So there are narrations like this. There are others that are more subtle. That really take, like we mentioned yesterday, al-nuqad al-jahabida, radiyallahu anhum, from the scholars of hadith, the major geniuses in this affair. They're so bright and intelligent, and they were given so much success in this affair to defend and clarify the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they'll find the most intricate details and mistakes and errors of the most reliable scholars of hadith. Scholars of hadith. So whenever that happens, that hadith is called shadh. So this one is called خطأ الثقة. إذا أخطأ الثقة يقال له شاذ. The thiqah, the reliable, precise narrator. If he makes a mistake, that's called shadh. This hadith is called shadh. So before it's accepted, there cannot be any shudh, meaning that reliable narrators cannot contradict the other narrators. How do we know that the reliable narrator made a mistake here? This is called by السبر, الاتبار والسبر الطرق, by gathering all of the chains. Gathering all of the chains in this one narration and then examining them and look at all the different narrators and the different chains and the different the branches of the chain and the different and the method likewise. And this one has said this one and this one said this one, and they'll pin it out. This one and this one. No, he's the one who made the mistake. He's the one who made the mistake. By comparing all of these narrations together and all of these chains, and also with the successes that they have been given and the khibrah, their experience in this affair, they'll be able to pick out the one who made the mistake, that this narration is not accepted. Yes, this is an amazing affair. So this is a hadith, Sahih li dhatihi. We got it? What are the conditions? This is good to memorize here, even at this level of learning, even if you don't even understand Arabic. It's good to memorize. Alhamdulillah. What is it? Adanatul ruwat means the reliability. What does that mean, reliability? In general, they are people who establish the commandments and avoid the prohibitions, and they have good and noble manners. That's what's seen from them. That's what's seen from them. Doesn't mean they never sin, they don't ever make any mistake. That's what's seen from them. That's what they're known for. So they're reliable. They have adala. Number two, tamam al-dhabt. They have complete precision in narrating. That's two aspects. What was that? Reading, memory, speech, in memory and in writing. In memory and in writing. We've seen the details of that. And then after that, ittisal sanad, the chain must be connected. Then after that, these all must be present, right? These first three must be present. Then there's two that must not be present. What was the first one? Al-illa al-qadiha. Al-illa al-qadiha. A hidden defect that undermines the narration, that undermines the authenticity. And al-qadiha, it brings weakness to it. It harms the narration. It harms the authenticity of the narration. So not anything that maybe you see there, you think is wrong, is going to harm the narration. But the one that does, that's called illa qadiha. Illa qadiha. And the fifth thing, the fifth condition, and the second thing that must not be present, الشذوذ. الشذوذ. What's that mean? مخالفة المقبول لمن هو أولى منه بالقبول. لمن هو أولى منه بالقبول. Whenever the maqbul, and when we say the maqbul, it's more inclusive, because the maqbul is the narrator of the Sahih and the narrator of the Hasan, right? So either one of them might make mukhalafa, and if that's the case, it's considered shadh. And if that's the case, it's considered shadh. We move on. ترجيح صحيح البخاري على صحيح مسلم. Preference of صحيح البخاري over صحيح مسلم. اذكر مراتب الصحيح بالنسبة إلى ما رواه البخاري ومسلم اجتماعا وانفرادا، وما لم يروياه، وما هو الأسباب التي قدم من أجله ما رواه البخاري على ما رواه مسلم، وعلى ما يحمل ما نقل عن بعض العلماء من تقديم صحيح مسلم على صحيح البخاري. Mention the ranks of authenticity in relation to what al-Bukhari and Muslim narrated together and individually, as well as what neither narrated. What are the reasons scholars preferred Sahih Bukhari over Sahih Muslim? And how should one understand what some scholars said about showing preference to Sahih Muslim over Sahih Bukhari? It's clear? المراتب في ذلك 7 نذكرها فيما يلي مرتبة ترتيبا تنازليا. He said there are 7 ranks of authenticity arranged and we're going to mention them here, arranged in descending order, and beginning at the peak. ما اتفق عليه البخاري ومسلم. That which is agreed upon by al-Bukhari and Muslim. This is called المتفق عليه. متفق عليه. Right? That which Bukhari and Muslim they agreed upon where? في صحيحيهما. In the Sahihain. Right? This is called muttafaqun alayh. This is the peak of authenticity. Then after that, man farada bihi al-Bukhari. That which Bukhari he narrated individually. And it's not in Muslim. It's in Bukhari, not in Muslim. And then after that, number three, man farada bihi Muslim. And that which Muslim he narrated individually or alone. Meaning Muslim narrated, but Bukhari didn't. You understand? So these are the first 3 levels. We got it? The first narration is muttafaqun alayhi, what Bukhari and Muslim they agreed upon. They both narrated in their books. Then after that, in strength of authenticity, is that which Bukhari he narrated alone. And then after that, in authenticity, is that which Muslim he narrated alone. We got these first three categories. After that, the fourth one, مَا كَانَ عَلَى شَرْطَيْهِمَا, that which is in their condition. That which is on the condition of Bukhari and Muslim. That which is on the condition of Bukhari. It's not Bukhari, not Bukhari nor Muslim narrated it. But when we look into it and examine it, it's on the condition that they have. Although they didn't narrate it. You understand? So this is in the fourth level. The fifth level is مَا كَانَ عَلَى شَرْطِ Bukhari, that which is on the condition of Bukhari alone. And its condition is stronger than Muslims. And the sixth one is مَا كَانَ عَلَى شَرْطِ Muslim, that which was on the condition of Muslim. And the seventh one is مَا لَمْ يَرْوِيَاهُ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ عَلَى شَرْطِهِمَا لَا اجْتِمَاعًا وَلَا انْفِرَادًا. لَا اجْتِمَاعًا وَلَا انْفِرَادًا. And the seventh level is what is narrated by neither of them. What is narrated by neither of them and does not meet either of their conditions. It does not meet either of their conditions. You understand that? يعني ما صححه غيرهما من علماء الحديث. واضح? It's on the condition يكون على شرط غيرهما. Al-Iraqi, he referred to this issue here in a chapter in Al-Fiyat al-Hadith. He said that وَأَرْفَعُ صَحِيهِ مَرْوِيُهُمَا وَأَرْفَعُ الصَّحِيهِ مَرْوِيُهُمَا. And the highest level of authenticity is what's narrated by the two of them. Who is that? Bukhari Muslim. ثم البخاري فمسلم فما. And then Bukhari and then Muslim. These are those categories, right? وأرفع صحيح مرويهما ثم البخاري فمسلم فما. شرطهما هوى فشرط جعفي فمسلم في شرط غير يكفي. فمسلم في شرط غير يكفي. So he mentioned these lines here. And in these lines here, he mentioned these categories here. So the first one is what they agreed upon, Bukhari and Muslim, and then what Bukhari narrated only, and then what Muslim he narrated only is on the condition of Bukhari and Muslim. شرطهما هوى فشرط الجعفي. الجعفي يعني Bukhari. Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Ju'fi مولاهم رحمه الله تعالى. Then what's on the condition of Bukhari? It's not in Bukhari nor is it Muslim, but it's on the condition of Bukhari. And then on the condition of Muslim. And then it's not on the condition of either one of them, nor did they narrate it, but another scholar from the scholars of Hadith, like Abu Dawood, or At-Tirmidhi, or At-Tirmidhi, or An-Nasa'i, or Ibn Majah, or somebody else from the scholars of Hadith, authenticated it. Right? Authenticated it. It's on the condition of those scholars. So therefore it's considered accepted. This is considered accepted. So this is all of this is going to be considered accepted. Considered accepted or considered authentic. So it says وهذه المراتب وهذه المراتب السبع كل واحدة منها مقدمة على التي قبلها. Each level here is preferred over the one following it. And each one is stronger than the other. Each one of them is stronger than the other. Each one of them is stronger than the other. So when will this benefit us? If there are narrations that appear to be in contradiction, and there's no way to gather between the two of them. There's no way to gather in a proper understanding without making takalluf and trying too hard to bring harmony between the meanings of these narrations. If we're not able to do that, then we'll look into this affair. And if one of them is stronger than the other, then we'll remove the one that's weaker and we'll follow the one that's stronger. This is called a tarjih. We'll make tarjih here because we're forced to. The origin is to try to bring harmony between the two, understand both of them in a particular light, so that we apply and work by both narrations. But if that's not possible, then we'll move on to these affairs. We can move on to an issue called a tarjih. We'll have to cancel out one of them and follow the other one, and that will be from the ways of doing that is by identifying which one is stronger in authenticity. Which one is stronger in authenticity? So it says, حفظه الله وقد صرح الجمهور بتقديم صحيح البخاري على صحيح مسلم ولم يوجد عن أحد التصريح بخلافه وذلك لأن الصفات التي تدور عليها الصحة في صحيح البخاري أتم منها في صحيح مسلم وشرط البخاري فيها أقوى وأشد من شرط مسلم. The majority of the scholars have explicitly stated the precedence of Sahih Bukhari over Sahih Muslim in authenticity, and no one has been reported to have stated the contrary explicitly. And none of the scholars of Hadith have came out directly and said Muslim is stronger and Sahih Muslim is better than Sahih Bukhari. Sahih Muslim is more reliable. Is more reliable than Sahih Bukhari. No one came directly like this. You understand? So he says this is because the qualities upon which authenticity is based, that we just discussed, right? In Sahih al-Bukhari are more complete than in Sahih Muslim. And al-Bukhari's criterion in that regard is stronger and stricter than Muslims. You understand? So whenever we look at those levels of authenticity, Bukhari, his levels of authenticity are higher than Muslims. The narrations that he chose and selected, they're higher than Muslims in general. That doesn't mean that there might be one narration in Sahih Muslim that might be stronger than one. In general, the methodology of Bukhari is the narrations that he reported are of a higher quality of authenticity than those in Sahih Muslim. You understand? So this makes his book take precedence here. And also, the condition that he had himself was more strong and stern, and meaning with regards to accepting the narrators. He was stronger and more stern and more detailed in accepting narrators than Muslim was. Although Muslim's condition is good, but Bukhari's is better. Although the narrators in the hadith in Muslim are sound, in Bukhari they're sounder, right? Or they're more sound, right? They're more sound. They have gathered the qualities of being sound and authentic in a greater and more complete manner. So therefore it's higher. Therefore both of them are high, right? Both of them are high. الصح الكتب المصنفة الصح الكتب المصنفة Bukhari, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, the most authentic books authored, right? Authored is Bukhari and the Muslim, and then Muslim. So he says فأما رجحانه من حيث الاتصال من حيث الاتصال فاشتراطه أن يكون الراوي قد ثبت له لقاء من روى عنه ولو مرة واحدة واكتفى مسلم بمطلق المعاصرة. As for his superiority in terms of the chain being connected, and in Bukhari, as for the superiority of Bukhari in terms of the chain being connected, it is due to his condition that the narrator must be proven to have met the one he narrates from. It must be established by way of narration that this narrator, he met the one who he narrates on. It's known that he met him and that he learned from him. Even if that's only one time, it's established amongst the scholars that this narrator met that narrator. That this narrator met that narrator, even if it was only one time. This is from the conditions of Bukhari that makes his book so strong. As for, it says, while Muslim was content with mere mu'asara, meaning that the fact that they lived in the same time, they're contemporaries. You understand? So long as it's established that the narrator who's narrating on his sheikh, that these two are contemporaries and they're been from the same areas, that it's conceivable that they had met each other, or it's possible to have met each other, then he will accept that, even if it was not directly established that he met him, because he's reliable. He already picked a reliable narrator, so he is sufficing with the fact that he's reliable, and he said that he heard from this one. So therefore, we accept that from him, which is a good way. But Bukhari, he was more stern. He was like, no, I need to know that he met him. It doesn't suffice that they lived in the same time, that they're from the same land, that they were at Mecca at the same time, or that they were in Yemen at the same time. That's not enough for me. I need to know that he heard. He said he heard from him. There's narration where he said, I heard from him. So and so told me. Like this. That meeting is established by way of narration. That's the condition for Bukhari. As for Muslim, he was suffice with just knowing that he narrated on him while he's reliable and they lived and were together in the same time and the likes like this, then he will suffice with that. He will suffice with that. So from this aspect, Bukhari is stronger. So here, Barakallah fikum, that which gives Sahih Bukhari the advantage, making it stronger than Sahih Muslim, is whenever we look at those 5 conditions that we just discussed. Those 5 conditions are present and found in a greater manner in Sahih Bukhari than they are in Muslim. Although they're found in Muslim. They're found in Muslim and they're established in a good way. But they're established better in a greater and more complete way in Sahih Bukhari, the narrations of Sahih Bukhari. Understand that? So the narrators are all precise more often, are greater in their precision and their reliability than they are in Muslim. And also, the chains are connected in a stronger and more certain way than they are in Muslim. This is what I just talked about, right? And then after that, there's two conditions that shouldn't be there: the illah and the shuduth. This is also more established and clear in Bukhari than it is in Muslim. So because these conditions here are met in a more complete and better manner, it now raises Sahih Bukhari over Sahih Muslim. So we continue. He says, وأما رجحانه من حيث عدم الشذوذ والإعلال فلأن ما انتقد على البخاري من الأحاديث أقل عددا ممن انتقد على Muslim. And as for his superiority in terms of the absence of the illah, irregularity, absence of the shudhuth, being a contradiction, and the hidden defects, it is because the number of narrations criticized in Bukhari are fewer than those criticized in Muslim. The number of narrations criticized in Bukhari are fewer than those that are criticized in Muslim. And even whenever we look to the one criticizing them, we'll find that the haqq is with Bukhari and Muslim almost every time. Although some scholars that came and tried to criticize individual narrations, those individual narrations that were criticized for one reason or another are less in Bukhari than they are in Muslim. But even then, whenever you go into detail with them and you discuss that criticism, you'll find that the haqq is with Bukhari and Muslim almost every time. You understand? So those criticized narrations, only a few of those are accepted. The criticism is only accepted in very few of them. You understand? In any case, there are more in Muslim than they are in Bukhari. So this also makes Sahih Bukhari stronger. This is from the conditions of As-Sihha. And Bukhari and Muslim is Sahihan. You understand that? So he says, وهذا مع اتفاق العلماء على أن البخاري كان أجل من مسلم في العلوم ومسلم تلميذ البخاري ولم يزل يستفيد منه ويتبع آثاره. This is in addition to the consensus of the scholars that Bukhari was greater than Muslim in knowledge, and that Muslim was a student of Bukhari and continued to benefit from him and follow his footsteps. And some of the scholars, they mentioned لولا البخاري ما جاء مسلم ولا راح. If it had not been for Bukhari, Muslim would never even came. And he's under Bukhari. His teacher, even Muslim, he confessed to this. And even he mentioned, it's mentioned in his biography that he said, يا أستاذ الأستاذين تعال حتى أقبل قدمك. He said, oh, Ustad of the Ustads. And this is the highest level of praise, right? Oh, Ustad of the Ustads, and the masters of Hadith. Come, let me kiss your feet, like this. Just to honor him. Oh, come, let me kiss like this. Just mentioning to him, I want to respect you in this manner, like this. And he's showing that he confesses the virtue of Bukhari, and that's something that's known. So it's well known, this affair. وما نقل عن بعض العلماء من ترجيح صحيح مسلم على صحيح البخاري راجع إلى حسن السياق وجودة الوضع والترتيب. ولم يفصح أحد من هؤلاء بأنه راجع إلى الأصحية. And what has been reported from some scholars regarding the preference of Sahih Muslim over Sahih Bukhari goes back to the excellence of the siyaq, the way that he arranged the narrations, the way that he arranged the narrations with the chains. He did this in the most precise and amazing manner that no one preceded him. Arranging the chains and gathering the chains of many different narrations, one narration with under it six or more, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 narrations, all of them with different chains. And then he'll put the chains together and then he'll say ha, and he'll go to another chain, and then the chain will come back and meet. So he'll mention one chain, he'll say ha, mention another chain that connected right there, and then say ha, and mention another chain that connected right here. But all of them are the same chain from the beginning, and then come back and meet at the text like this. He would arrange the chains in this most beautiful manner. And likewise, he would not touch the text whatsoever. He would not change it. He would not shorten it. He would not narrate it by meaning. He would narrate exactly the way that it came to him. Rahimahullah, Sahih Muslim. And Imam Muslim is Sahih Muslim. So he was very diligent in the way, in preserving the narrations and the way that he collected his book and the way that he authored it. Al-Bukhari, he was traveling whenever he wrote a Sahih. Traveling all over the land. Bukhari, Muslim, he was in his home. And he was with his books. And he's writing in his home, rahimahullah, and he came with what was not He came with something not preceded, unpreceded. And the ways of narrating and collecting these chains of narrations together and arranging them, along with the fact that in his book he only has the titles of books. Kitab al-Iman, Kitab al-Tahara, Kitab al-Salah. There's no chapter title. It doesn't say Bab Kada, Bab Kada. If you read Sahih Muslim now, you see it says Bab Kada, Bab Kada. That's from An-Nawawi. That's from An-Nawawi. That's not from Muslim. So Imam Muslim, he did not want to have anything in his book except the words of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not even chapter titles. He just put the book titles so that there. But then, if you look at his narrations, he arranged it in an order as if there's chapter titles. You understand? So they say Fiqh al-Bukhari is in his chapter titles, and the Fiqh of Muslim is in his arrangement of the narrations. And this is some amazing affairs. Also indicating the concern, that indicating the care Allah He showed for the Sunnah of His final Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the efforts that they made in authoring these works after collecting these narrations in this manner. So he says in what has been reported from some scholars regarding the preference of Sahih Muslim over Sahih Bukhari, goes back to the excellence of its arrangement and quality, and the excellence of the flow and the quality of arrangement and organization. And none of them explicitly stated that this preference was based on authenticity. So the most authentic book is Bukhari and then Muslim. This is the point. وإلى المقارنة المذكورة أشار بعضهم بقوله. And to this comparative view, some of them pointed out with their statement: تنازع قوم في البخاري ومسلم لدي وقالوا أي ذين تقدموا فقلت لقد فاق البخاري صحة كما فاق في حسن الصناعة مسلم. It's some beautiful lines of poetry. He said a group disputed it regarding a Bukhari and Muslim before me, and a group of people came to me disputing about Bukhari and Muslim, and they said, which of the two do you prefer? And I said, verily, Bukhari has excelled in authenticity just as Muslim has excelled in fine arrangement. And so if you look into authenticity, then Bukhari, his book is surpassing that affair. And if you look into the beautiful arrangement and the manner of gathering these chains and mentioning them in this manner, along with those texts in this way, this one he's unprecedented with regards to that affair. And in any case, Sahih Bukhari, it takes precedence. And in any case, Sahih al-Bukhari, it takes precedence. After this, we read and we close, inshallah. As-Sahih li-ghayrihi wal-Hasanu li-dhatihi wa li-ghayrihi. Sahih li-ghayrihi and Hasan li-dhatihi wa li-ghayrihi. عرف الصحيح لغيره والحسن لذاته والحسن لغيره. Define الصحيح لغيره، حسن لذاته والحسن لغيره. الصحيح لغيره هو ما كانت شروطه أخف من شروط الصحيح لذاته وجبر بكثرة الطرق. The صحيح لغيره, authentic due to external support, that which has lesser conditions يعني than الصحيح لذاته, but is strengthened by multiple supporting chains. We discussed that lesser condition. What was it? The narrator, his memory is a bit lighter than that of the Sahih. والحسن لذاته هو ما كانت شروطه أخف من شروط الصحيح لذاته ولم يوجد ما يجبر به ذلك القصور. The Hasan لذاته, that which has lesser conditions than Sahih لذاته, and does not have anything to compensate it for that deficiency. So the Sahih لغيره, what was that? That was the Hasan لذاته if it has a number of chains. And the reason why it's Hasan lidatihi and not Sahih lidatihi is because of weakness, a slight weakness in the narrator. Then we have the Hasan lidatihi. This is the one that has that slight weakness in the narrator, along with the conditions, the previous conditions fulfilled. Those 5 conditions we talked about, that which brings the Hasan lidatihi down, is it doesn't have tamam al-dhabt. He has a dhabt, but it doesn't have tamam al-dhabt. واضح؟ Then الحسن لغيره هو الخبر المتوقف فيه إذا قامت قرينة ترجح جانب قبوله كحديث مسؤول الحال إذا تعدد طرقه. The حسن لغيره, يعني the one that's sound due to supporting evidence, a report about which there is hesitation, but where supporting indication tips the scale in favor of its acceptance. For example, a narration from someone whose condition is unknown, if multiple chains support it. And maybe there's a chain, there's a hadith in the chain, there's a narrator that's unknown. His name is there, so-and-so ibn so-and-so. What's that? So, I don't know. We look in the book, we try to reference him and say, who's that? So, I mean, he's not mentioned, his name's not mentioned. It's not mentioned who he is, who he learned from, and the likes like this, or only one person. No, it's only mentioned in one book. So we're not certain who he is. Is he reliable? Is he not reliable? Is he strong? Is he not strong? It's not certain. right? But then that same narration comes with other chains supporting that one. So although we're not able to identify the individual, we're not certain who he is, these other chains support it, raising it to the level of being accepted. Initially it's weak and we don't accept it, but it's a light weakness because the narrator, we don't know who he is. But then there's other chains clarifying. So therefore that narrator, inshallah, is sound and we got that narration right. واضح? And the proof is the other supporting narrations. So therefore it went from being ضعيف يسير الضعف to حسن لغيره. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.